to speak. My name is Paul. I'm a clinical psychologist.
I am Bobby, and I am an American academic, although I'm retired. I retired last year. The last couple of weeks, Paul, we've had some interesting discussions about wokeness. We kind of decided to tackle that as our first topic.
Yeah,
And we got some responses.
a couple, yeah.
Couple.
Interesting ones, really.
Couple interesting ones. We had one that maybe you would be better qualified to answer than me. And we got somebody who said, in Uganda we have nations, the ones colonialists wrongly called tribes. So maybe you can offer some insights about what exactly this person is saying, or what they're objecting to.
I think it's more about the definition of what tribes are and what nations are. A tribe would be a group of people, whereas a nation would be a sovereign territory. So a tribe could be a nation, but could as well be just a tribe. So we could have a nation with more tribes under it, but because we could also have a tribe which is a nation on its own. So I think what they meant is pre-colonial times, most of the tribes in Uganda were as well sovereign nations on their own. So they were right to say what they said, but I remember how I responded to them was that while they might be right in their own perspective of looking at it, it may not really change our argument. To respond to the person that commented, yes, there are tribes in the country which may not necessarily be nations anymore, but it wouldn't be any problem if a tribe were to be a nation. But it's just that the reality of what we are facing right now is that these tribes are no longer nations.
The distinction between whether or not they're a tribe or a nation doesn't really have any bearing upon the arguments that we're trying to make. We should be aware of and acknowledge these issues of social injustice, so we recognize that. But the issue is, what is the best way to go forward in addressing some of these inequities? And we feel that many in the woke camp are not addressing them in appropriate manner. So we're not condemning wokeness as a concept in and of itself. We're criticizing the way it's being practiced, which is not constructive and is not helpful.
The way it's being malpracticed, I think that would be a better term.
Yeah. We did get a second comment, Paul, that I wanted to talk about, and I'm kind of hoping we can use this to transition into another topic here. Maybe we discuss issues related to gender.
Okay.
So the second comment that we got was, thank you, Bobby and Paul. We need more people speaking on this. If someone has decided that they want to be of other genders, don't come and force me to accept you and make room for you in my box. These woke genders should get their own box. And it's even worse for us women, since some men have decided to steal womanhood from us, and now we are the bad guy for fighting for our space as women. It started with this idea that people should be able to go to the bathroom of whatever gender they identify with. And now we're in this situation where there's an 82-year-old woman who 2 years ago was kicked out of a YMCA because she complained that there was a biological male in her locker room who was undressing in front of girls, in front of minors. These were children. She went to complain, but the response of the YMCA was to expel her.
You know, that it's a way like altering objective reality.
But she's actually suing the YMCA, taking them to court. Whether or not she'll win, I don't know.
Probably not. But she would win in Uganda.
She would probably win in Uganda, yeah.
But even in Uganda, it would be tricky because even the judges fear such cases, because these cases they draw so much attention from the people who are giving us money anyway. We're slowly adopting what the Western world has adopted, and while it's being imposed on us, because I don't think we are buying it 100%, but it's being imposed on us basically because we are poor, and these countries they're able to fund some projects here, they're able to fund our budget and whatever. So we're having it more appreciated in the political world. So for us who are not so much into politics, this really doesn't bother us as much. So you find that the reason why this is happening is because of pressure from people from your side.
Right.
It's not Bob, it's the people from your side. They're probably pressuring them to accept this thing that is actually taboo in our culture as Africans. They are forcing us to accept what we would ideally think is unacceptable. in our culture. And how they're doing it is they're stewarding it through raising money and funds. I've worked in the non-profits for a while. I know friends who lost their jobs because funding was taken away, because Uganda was all of a sudden a transphobic place. So they took away funding, people lost jobs, and it was unfair for them, because these are battles of politics.
You can look at it that this is a form of cultural imperialism, where you see in America taking its values, or the West taking its values, and trying to enforce them onto Uganda.
That's why it's good that I'm talking with a native English speaker, because now he has brought it out. It's
cultural. This is a real example of cultural imperialism, but it won't be recognized as such because it doesn't conform to the woke narrative. To call it cultural imperialism, the West is trying to take its LGBTQ values and impose them onto Africa.
There are people who have issues with their gender, where people ideally in the psychology world, they used to call them people with a gender dysmorphism, or if you look at
which is a real,
but because of the woke campaigns and the monies they're putting this, they are altering science. So now science can always prove whatever their agenda is and proves it right. So eventually they found a way of pushing it out. We've adopted the Western culture, the Western way of looking at things. It makes practice a bit ambiguous. You don't know how to approach this kind of cases.
Another way that this issue is manifesting itself in the United States is through competitive sports, where you have biological males who identify as women who want to compete as women. This works out to sometimes very dangerous consequences and sometimes very unfair consequences.
Before you get there, I used to play rugby. I also played soccer. But in football, I was really mediocre. But I believe if I could play with females, maybe I would stand a better chance.
Yeah, and that's the unfairness. And there's plenty of examples. I don't know if you remember this story, Paul, but there was a male mixed martial arts fighter competing as a woman who broke the eye socket of a female fighter and gave her a concussion.
In such a very physical sport.
Yes, a very violent sport, very dangerous sport. Yeah. There's another example that I think is even more, it's kind of more unfair, I think. And to me, I find this one kind of sad. There was a male athlete who was in his 20s who competed in a street skateboarding competition in New York City and beat out a 13-year-old girl for first place. So this 29-year-old biological male who identified as a woman beat out for first place a 13-year-old girl and took away her dreams.
Unfair,
it's unfair. So you definitely have an unfair advantage here, because you're a biological male. And this is what I think the woman that left the comment that we're kind of responding to, and it's kind of been this long response to that comment, that's what she's concerned about, is biological males coming in and taking space that was intended to be for women.
It's not like we are people who are not empathic about these people who are experiencing this kind of feelings about their own body structures or their genders. But we just want us to look at things with objectivity rather than us imposing our subjectivity on others, on what's really objective reality. I wanted to ask you a question, Bob. How do you think we should approach this? So we have Paralympics, yeah? We have all these kind of Special Olympics things. So what if I wake up one morning and I feel like I'm handicapped, even if I'm not? Would I compete in Paralympics?
No.
Why?
Because you're not handicapped.
So isn't that in a way discriminating me?
If you don't have a handicap and you want to compete in the Paralympics because you identify as somebody with a handicap, you have an unfair advantage over the people who are handicapped because you're not handicapped. If you're a male, you have an unfair advantage over females if you compete against females because you're not a female and you are a male.
Exactly. So basically, what is a woman? What is a man?
What is a woman?
What is gender? What is sex?
So I mean, we can answer those questions
easily.
Easily. But I think that when you ask these people, what is a woman?
They'll struggle.
They'll give you a definition, but it'll be circular. They'll say someone who identifies as a woman.
Okay.
And then you respond by saying, okay, what is that? And then they'll say, a woman. And if you've seen the movie by Matt Walsh, it's called What is a Woman? That is exactly what happens when he talks to some of these experts. He says, what is a woman? And they say, well, a woman is someone who identifies as a woman. Okay, what is that? And they'll go, A woman. You know what a woman is, right?
What is it?
A what is? Okay, we can answer. A woman.
Yeah.
Okay. A woman is an adult biological female, XX chromosomes. A man is adult male with XY chromosomes. And I know that somebody will bring up the fact that there is a certain disorder. There's like a small number of people.
Intersex is a disorder. So
Yeah. Let's say that I say that a human being has 2 legs. But let's say I only have 1 leg. Does that mean legs exist on a spectrum? You know, maybe as a human you can have 1 leg or 2 legs, or maybe there can be a whole number of legs. This is the example that I heard from Matt Walsh. We don't say those sort of things because we know that if somebody doesn't have 1 leg, we know that something somewhere along the line went wrong, because humans should have 2 legs and by their nature should have 2 legs. So you don't say that because there are these real examples where there's a disorder related to sex and gender, that somehow that means that gender is on a spectrum. There could be a whole number of genders. The argument just doesn't work.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
And the problem is people who are objective about this, you find them being banned. There was an awkward social scenario we were in at some point, and so this guy comes and I think was obstructing the ladies. So one of the ladies said, "Oh, gentlemen, can you excuse us?" The guy turned with eyes rolling, like, "Oh, who are you calling a man? Am I a man?" So we don't even know what you are. We don't know if you're a man or a woman, but what we see objectively, you're male. And that's why they call you gentlemen, respectfully, gentlemen. And then he was so offended. But these are strangers. How are they supposed to know that apparently you have your gender that you call yourself? So basically what I'm saying is, gender, sex, to me, should be the same thing. But that's my opinion as Paul. Gender, sex, should be objectively the same thing. Where the difference could come in is gender roles. Yeah? Just in Uganda, we have someone told me tribes and nations, yeah. But we have tribes where females are the ones who fend for the house. Yeah? And that's their gender role as females. When you get married to a woman, then she's the one who goes to work and the man stays home. But then, of course, the greater society internationally is that the man fends for the house. Yeah? But, so I would say maybe the gender roles could vary depending from on culture to culture, but then gender still remains the same. So she will still remain a female, but then the roles may vary. Yeah, she may do what other cultures would call masculine, but then in that culture, that's what feminine people do. Yeah. So yeah, gender, sex I could use them interchangeably, but then maybe the gender roles could differ from culture to culture. Yeah, I think that's how I would rather look at it. You find that these champions of these kind of agendas, when it feeds into their families, they struggle. So they may be on the screen, on the camera, we are talking about wokeness, they're talking about it's okay to be this, but then when it's their son, then it's a different story. And I'm not talking just out of nowhere. I know what I'm talking about because I've seen people in my spaces of work where this person is a high-flying person out there and they are champions per se, but when it bites their home, then they know they don't want it. So they preach it out for other people's children to subscribe to it, not their own. Before we go, there's a case that I wanted us to talk about. Caster Semenya, the South African athlete. So this lady, she's a lady, and she competed in ladies for a while. I think she won 2 Olympic gold medals and a couple of other gold medals all over the place. She was competing for 800 meters. Is it 800, 400? I've forgotten really. But so this lady, biologically female, physically female, but of course, from what happened, they sued her that she was having more testosterone than the average woman.
High testosterone levels.
Yeah, so they said now, for example, women should there's a threshold to be a woman for testosterone. But then if this woman was born a woman, then why are you discriminating against her? Just because she has high testosterone doesn't make her a man. She's still a woman. Yeah? So I feel she was unfairly treated that way. Yeah? So just because I'm a man and I have a small, tiny voice, that make me a man. That mean I should compete with women. Yeah, I'm still a man. For example, my voice is a bit, softer than most men. It's more high pitched, so I don't become a female. I'm still a male. What do you think about that case?
If this woman is a biological female, just because she has higher testosterone levels doesn't mean that they should not let her compete, because it might be unfair to the other women, because obviously you're going to have every once in a while a woman that's going to excel above the rest. Just like in male sports, you're going to have a male that's going to excel above all the rest, and you're going to have exceptional males, you're going to have exceptional females.
For example, if a male is a giant, is very big,
Yeah.
would you say, no, this guy shouldn't compete in boxing because
Right,
he's
because he's
bigger
going
than
to
the
kill all
average
the other
human?
men.
Or
Yeah.
he'll still compete, and he'll keep winning.
Yeah, he'll keep winning. He'll be the, he'll be the best.
Yeah, because he's the best
Because he is
male
the
out
best.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like for that particular case, it was handled poorly, and in the end, they really affected the lady, because they told her to take some injections, some medication to reduce on the hormones, and then eventually she got sick and she went through a lot of hell. She calls it hell. I think she also has to go through a lot of mental stress, and who knows, God knows what she's going through by this time, because they say she won the case, but then she was not allowed to compete. Essentially, she lost the case. The world looks at rewards as money is the ultimate reward, but then you're damaging this person's ego, you're damaging how they look at their self-image, you're obliterating how she looks at herself, and then you say she's won the case when she's essentially lost herself.
So I think, Paul, we're probably at about the end of our discussion. We've kind of transitioned from wokeness into gender, but this all kind of connects. And I don't know if maybe we'll continue this discussion next week. We'll have to see some of the response that we get to this, what kind of comments. But yeah, so let us know your thoughts. We'll try to respond to as many comments as we can. So have a good week, and we'll see you in another 7 days. Bye for now.
Bye.